when you get up and you tell people that God can do anything but fail, you have to believe it. Because if your belief is not in that level to believe that God can meet you in your situation and overcome your problems and change your lifestyles, you're in trouble. I don't know about the God that you serve, but the one that delivered me of drugs back 41 years ago, when an angel of the Lord, and this is God, I'm telling you the truth, you do not have to believe this, tapped me on the shoulder in Woodsfield, Ohio, and told me I was called to preach. I thought I had lost my mind. I thought God made His first mistake. And I was wondering, why me, Lord? Why would God want me? Because I was a hellraiser. You hear what I'm saying? I would fight at a drop of a hat. In fact, I fought just to see if I could fight. I was a great thief. I could steal your socks off of your feet and you wouldn't even know they're gone until you got home. I was good. I was a good servant of the devil. You hear what I'm saying? I worked very hard for the devil. I did everything wrong that was right. Or right that was wrong. And then God come on the scene, stuck His nose in my business, and brought me under condemnation, and brought me down to a place that I realized I was going to hell. And I do believe there is a hell if you don't. And I started having this war. It's called a spiritual war. Satan pulling one way and God pulling the other. Anybody ever had that problem?
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about. Knowing that the things you're doing is wrong, but yet at the same time you can't stop doing it. You don't seek for deliverance. You don't go to church where the power of God is, where the 9 gifts of the Spirit is. You don't go where God speaks to people. And then you go to these dead, dry, high churches and wonder why you don't see a miracle. There's your answer. God ain't in the house. The word Ishkabah is written over the door. That means the Spirit of God does not dwell in this house. I saw miracles with these eyes. I could write you a book of things that I personally saw. I cannot document them, but I did see them. When I stand, and Vonda was there, and Nancy was there, Pam and Rudy was there, John might have been there, I know Mrs. Davis was there, I know Anna was there, and Ray was there, and several other people. A woman had an eye removed out of her socket. And I was from here to Bill. And Rev called this woman out. She's a Catholic lady. And she's standing there with a patch over her eye. And she had 3 daughters. They looked like stair steps. And one a little taller than her, one a little taller than that one, and one a little taller than that one. And he had just prayed for Pat Wasmus' son. On the other side near the balcony. He didn't touch it. Jesus didn't touch a lot of people. He just said to do something, and when they did it, something happened. He said, I see your lung is totally collapsed. He said, take a deep breath. He did. He said, take another one. He did. Take one more, and when he did, his lung inflated. And the Spirit of God moved over that audience. And he said, I believe that God can do supernatural things here today. When he called that Catholic lady down there, he said, lady, you don't have an eye. He said, let me have your patch. And he pulled it back like this, brother, and there was a hole there. Now I'm looking at this hole. He said, you see this, Bob? I said, yes, sir. He put the patch back. He said, I'm dumb enough to believe that God can put an eyeball where there ain't one. He ripped that patch off, and so help me God, I stand here striking dead if I did not see it. I saw an eyeball pop in that woman's head. That woman and her 3 daughters fainted. They didn't get slain in the Spirit. They fainted. It scared them to death.
All right.
Amen. Stood there and watched a man in Cincinnati that had no tongue, and God grew a tongue in front of my face. And I'm standing from here to you. Black gentleman come through there, and his tongue was just flattened off of cancer. When that tongue come out of that man's face, there was a man sitting on the front row in a wheelchair, paralyzed. It scared him so bad it knocked him out of that chair, and he run off and left his family behind.
That's right.
That's the kind of God that can come back to church. That's the kind of God that can come back in a place where people come in and they're bound and they can be free. same token. Just see one miracle. One miracle. And it can change the whole atmosphere of a person's life. I asked God, I said, God, I am gullible. I am naive. I'm dumb enough to believe anything, but please, if there is a God up there and you hear me, please send me to somebody that's real. Because I was listening to a preacher preach about the end times by the name of David Terrell. And he preached so hard, it scared me. It scared me so bad, I was afraid to come out of my trailer. I'm telling you the truth. And back then, I wasn't afraid of nothing. I was packing. That means a gun.
Amen.
And I was scared. And I started writing repentant letters. And I filled up a case, a kit that we used to demonstrate sweepers with, that long, that wide, and that deep. I mean, the Spirit of God took my memory and took me back and showed me things that I had done against God. And I was under condemnation of it, so therefore I started praying, and God started giving me, and I started writing, and I started repenting, and I started crying. And I was scared to death to walk out of that trailer, because so help me God, I thought God was going to hit me with a hammer. I'm telling you the truth. And then when I did find the real thing, and a man of God called me out and told me things about my life that nobody else knew, and I wonder how come he was so nosy and got into my business. God. And who is it that's telling him all this stuff? And the two people who came to church, he told them and knocked them down on the ground. I was ready to cock him for hitting them. Oh yes, I've come a long way. And I've learned a lot of stuff along the way, but I made a lot of mistakes learning it. I have fell short many times. Many. But there's one thing I can tell you, that God never changes. His love never changes. Amen. You know, I used to really get mad at people that would take God's name in vain. I asked God for holy boldness. And somebody would take that word GD, and I'd walk right up to their face. I don't care if they was in a store. I don't care if they was in a house. I don't care where they was. And I'd look them right dead in the eye, and I said, you don't know God. And they'll say, what? And I said, you don't know God. I said, because if you did, you know his last name ain't damn it. Amen. Well, I'm sorry. I said, don't sorry me. I'm not God. I said, you need to ask him. That's right. And you'd be surprised how many people would come up and thank me for doing that. They said, I've never seen anybody bold enough to tell me what I can do and what I can't do. I said, well, I just know that the God I serve, his last name ain't damn it. Amen. Amen. And I walk away from them. People today, they turn around, they go to church, and they wishy-washy. That's right. We're up and down, up and down, up and down. We're on the fence one day, we're high on mighty, and then something comes along, somebody hurts your feelings, and then you blame the whole church. Amen. I'm going to have a funeral in here pretty soon. You think I'm kidding you? I've already got the casket ordered.
I said it ain't going to be mine.
Amen. That's right.
And you'll be surprised who's in it. Today when you go home, look in the mirror and see what you got. That's all you got, is what you is. And you are the one that has to make the change. God has already made the provisions.
That's right.
He said, seek me and you will find me.
That's right. Amen.
You knock on that door and I'll open that door.
Yes.
Ask and believe and you shall receive. Doubt and do without.